I want you to raise your hand right now if anybody has ever given you what they thought of as the best compliment a teacher could ever want to hear. All right. Look around the room. This is really common. But what in the world explains this? Why in the world would that be the best thing that we would ever want to hear? What explains America's love affair with the untrained, the unschooled, the uninitiated? Aren't we a nation that actually is founded upon ideas about effort and energy and determination? The idea that any of us can become whatever we might want? Wasn't one of the whole reasons we exist the fact that we rejected completely the idea that you were born to a particular position or class or job? Now, I'm not saying that's not an attractive idea, the notion that you would arrive on this planet fully capable with everything you might ever need to accomplish whatever you want in all of your life. I just don't think it's terribly realistic. We know that every adult in this nation has had more than 10,000 hours of exposure to teaching. It's reasonable that they think they understand our work, but they've only seen a tiny little piece of it. We don't do ourselves any favors in this as teachers. We know that teaching done really, really well looks really, really quiet and seamless and effortless and sometimes even elegant. Unless you're the one doing the paddling, you have no clue about the effort, the energy, the hard work, and sometimes even the chaos that's happening just below the surface. Nobody would suggest that somebody was born to juggle chainsaws, especially not when perched on top of a unicycle. Classroom teachers, however, get that there's probably a whole lot more similarity to what we do with this picture than the previous one. And Hollywood doesn't help, does it? I'm not even invoking bad teacher, but even when they're trying to hold us up as noble, what do they make us? They make us saints or zealots or social workers, anything except intentionally working professionals. That just doesn't play. And what's with this word natural anyway? As a math lover and doer, I very often think in terms of opposites and counterexamples. So it makes me think, so what would an unnatural teacher look like? Well, if you look really hard, I would suggest that a lot of the work of teaching truly is unnatural. Why would we care to see what's going on in somebody else's head and then work to influence it without it being about either manipulation or control? There are lots and lots of images out there that claim to represent all sorts of variations of what teaching is about. And even though sometimes they're fun or funny, they get it fundamentally wrong because none of them ever even begins to allude to the fact of what you need to do to begin this work. Not to get to expert level, just to even start. What one of my colleagues refers to as safe to practice, ready to learn. That idea of first do no harm, right? Does this mythology grounded in the sense that all of us spent our entire childhood commandeering all the kids in the neighborhood or our siblings or our pets or our toys, lining them up in rows and having instruction? I bet that nobody thinks about the fact that we are able to go to the bathroom and get back, slurp down a thing of yogurt, and have a child fully understand all the implications of the fundamental theorem of algebra in the space of 33 minutes. I'm also sure that they don't think about the fact that we can communicate with one another using strings of seemingly random letters, that we can completely understand and decipher the guttural utterances of children and adolescents, or that we can actually compose formal means of communication when reaching out. That we can code switch easily so that when we're in a conversation and we hear the word spectrum, we can move easily based on the context and the situation amongst any one of these representations. Now, no matter what it is that the public thinks our work is about, what we can't do is we can't wait for them to figure it out and get it right. We owe it to ourselves, we owe it to our children, we owe it to our profession to take that on ourselves. Now, I'm not saying we need to do it entirely alone. We have lots and lots of friends with us in this work, people who want to help us to promote teaching as a profession. But it's incumbent upon us to take ownership and re-professionalize the work that we do. So the very next time that you hear what somebody thinks of as a really, really great compliment, be nice, they meant it well, but then recognize it and use it for what it is, bring all of your professional expertise to bear, and use the fact that you have a teachable moment.